It's Friday night. Welcome to the Asea 5. You know those of us who are here on a regular basis. I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas. I've got the beautiful Ann Glenn and her husband, Jim Glenn from San Antonio.
Hello.
Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State. He's our
Hello, everybody.
Green and NRF2 expert. And of course, we have some special guests tonight, all the way from Patterson, New York, Dr. Foster Malmed and his beautiful wife, Terry, who are our special guests, and they're going to be sharing with us today how they got started in Asea. But first, let me make a disclaimer, tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're doing. We gather here every Friday night to share our stories and our guest stories about how they were introduced to Asea and what value it has brought to them and into their lives. This is not a medical, even though a lot of us are medical professionals, it's not a medical product. We're not here to diagnose, cure, treat, or any of that. I know a lot of you are going to have questions, and please get back to the person who invited you to this webinar with your questions. They can send you different information that will help with that and put you on the telephone with different experts that can get your questions answered for you. So with that, I'm going to ask Foster and Terry Malmed to come on and tell us. Dr. Malmed is a chiropractor, and he has a very interesting story about how he brought this into his practice when he was practicing in a hospital, but it was all because of his beautiful wife, Terry. So we'll let you take the floor, Terry and Foster Malmed.
Oh, it's going to me. Okay, well, hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us, and we are so happy to be here with you. We have just entered our I guess it's our 11th year, right?
Our 11th
year.
Yes,
we have been with Asea 10.5 years. We were introduced to it as a sports product and a cardiovascular product. It was a friend who said, hey, check this stuff out. It's a miracle. Join my business. We were not network marketers. My husband is a chiropractor, I should say, 37 years. And he had just moved into a New York hospital. So I was really sick at the time. Our friend did not know that I was sick. And it was just one more thing. I took tons of supplements. I did every kind of medicine, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, and everything in between, and nothing got me better. It was 6 years of misery. And taking this product, we were like, all right, we'll just do it just to shut him up. You know, it was one of those. I'm sure maybe some of you are here just to shut somebody up. So we decided, all right, we'll try it. And 3 days in, I got out of bed and all my discomfort was gone. I could walk. I used to have a really hard time just getting out of bed. It would take me about 15, 20 minutes because everything in my body hurt. My feet, I couldn't walk. And that third day I got out of bed and everything was gone. And I said to Foster, it's gotta be this stuff, Asea. I've done everything and nothing has worked. And he said, it can't, it's a sports product, it's cardiovascular, it can't do that. On day 8, Foster had some of his own changes, nothing major. It was mid-August, and normally he had seasonal things going on, seasonal issues, and he didn't. And he called me and he called from the hospital and he said, something's going on. He said, my mouth can keep up with my brain.
Why is that funny?
Well, Foster's a really good talker. He's a
New Yorker.
And you're a personal trainer, aren't you?
I was a personal trainer, yes.
Okay, so here you are. That's your career, and you're having trouble moving.
Yes, it was difficult. I literally was like falling asleep just on the way to work. I had my own studio gym, and it was a struggle. And, you know, you trying to put on this brave face. I didn't want my clients to know I'm supposed to be this person of health and fitness, and I'm just dying. So again, I kept a brave face, and a lot of people did not know what was going on. But I was just going downhill. You want to add to that?
Sure. So my mouth could keep up with my brain.
Now, how much were y'all drinking, guys, in the beginning? Just the 2 and 2?
twice a day.
That's all you
That's
need.
22 back then.
Yeah.
We didn't know you could take more.
Right.
And yet you had a response in just a few days' time.
3 days, 3 days. And you know, it's like not everybody has 3 days. Some people it's 3 weeks, 3 months. I was just one of those, like I said, I was really primed for that time.
You had been doing everything.
I was doing everything, you name it, I did it. And I just kept going downhill. So I think I was just ready. I was just lacking these redox signalers. Now, again, we didn't know what they were.
Like Dr. Lee always says,
Yeah.
sometimes when you add the molecules in, it's like flipping a switch.
That's exactly what it was. And that was just the beginning for us of this journey. I never went back. I just kept getting better and better. And that was how we got started. Foster started sharing it. He said, you know what? I'm going to bring it into the hospital. I'm going to share it with patients. He said, I'm going to stack the deck. He gave it to people that had similar conditions to me. Because again, we didn't really know the mechanism. We didn't understand how these molecules worked. And lo and behold, everybody started having great results.
They did. So when she said I gave it to people who were like her, it meant we didn't know what they had. So we just knew they had this symptom complex and they didn't feel well and they did tons of things and they just didn't get better. So I gave it to 5 different patients and all of them had the same result. 2 were in 3 days, 2 were in 3 months. One was in about half that time. But as that happened, one of my favorite patients in the world came in with a really, really grave illness. And when I saw what it did for him, that's when I said, I think that we have to do this. Because if we can make changes like that no one's expecting, then this may actually be a moral imperative. And now it has been for over 10 years.
And we ran into him. His name is Tom. And he was a retired New York City police officer, one of Foster's favorite patients. And that was over 10 years ago. And during COVID, I was going into the pharmacy and I saw him with it. I saw the mask and I was like, Tom? And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to say you're still alive because he wasn't supposed to live, but a couple of months back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you got arrested. No.
I said, come to the car with me. Somebody's going to be really happy to see you. And I took him over to the hospital.
So we got to reconnect. So when you see that, it's pretty hard to ignore being able to make changes like that in people's lives.
Hey, can I ask real quick, Maureen, real quick? Jerry, was your diet really, were you trying to do everything else correct? Because I've noticed that when people are eating a very clean diet, doing everything else right, but there's just, like Lee says, there's that switch missing. But I've noticed that it works quicker, maybe. Maureen, I don't know if you guys have seen that. If with a clean diet, if it seems to react quicker. And
I'm sorry, what you're saying, since it took 6 weeks for me. So what are you saying there? The more good you're doing, and you're absolutely right, it seems to, in the people who have a challenge, that they've been trying all sorts of things, supplements, antioxidants, exercise, whatever.
Right.
Like a missing link. And when they add this in, it's like, and Lee, if you don't mind talking to this, because this is kind of your wheelhouse, it's like you're turning those things on. It's everything is ready to go. And that's why I think some people have that almost immediate response because they're doing everything else right. So Lee, do you mind speaking to that for just a second? Just giving us the primer on NRF.
Sure. Well, everybody has cells, and inside the cells, they're designed to detect when there's problems in the cell. This is just the way the body is designed. And those pathways and those molecular patterns require a feedback mechanism. And when that feedback mechanism isn't working well, then it can't signal to the cell's DNA to respond in a way that will clean up the environment, will protect the environment, and rebalance the environment. And when we're out of balance, when we have more oxidation or inflammation in our cells and in our body, that's when disease will show up. And disease, there's a couple thousand, 2,000-3,000 different manifestations of disease, but they as well as health all depend on the signaling abilities or capabilities of the cell. And so as we get along in age, or we become toxic, or we're exposed to radiation or anything that would that would increase the oxidation of a cell. When any of that happens, it kind of puts us behind the 8 ball. And yes, we can do things such as healthy living. That's kind of a colloquial term that just means you're eating right and exercising and sleeping right and dealing with infection in your body and so forth. All of those healthy lifestyle things are meant to increase the cellular mitochondrial activity, which is where these signaling molecules are created naturally inside of our own cells. But sometimes it's not so much. We get older, we have less of them, or they become somewhat that process becomes dysfunctional. And that's why when you add this, to your regimen and you replenish the cells' diminishing levels of redox signaling, then it restores, and sometimes it can happen immediately. That was certainly the case with my wife. It was almost within 2 days, maybe even 36 hours. It was like flipping a switch, and it was like, oh my word. For me, it wasn't, it took a week or two, and I wasn't even sure if maybe it was my own bias that was speaking to me because I wanted them to work. But, it took a little while for me to conclude that, yes, they are. But that's that switch thing. That's that, the restoring or replenishing the cell's ability to do that puts me back in literally like when I'm younger, and they're all working really well. And then all of those physiological processes begin working like they were designed to, and health can be restored. Back to what Dr. Marine was saying, we're not curing disease. This isn't about curing or diagnosing or treating. This is simply giving the cell what it needs to function properly, and then from that, health can flow and be restored.
That was awesome. Yeah, the body knows what it needs to do. It just needs the tools to do it. But I want to get back, Foster, if you don't mind, it's amazing to me, as a medical doctor, and you're a chiropractor, we don't often see chiropractors with hospital-based practices. That's amazing. And so here you are in the hospital, and yet you bring this product in that's not FDA approved. Tell me a little bit about that, because that seems like it may have been a little difficult.
Yes, it was difficult. Thank you for understanding that, Maureen. Yes. So I had been invited by the cardiologist who worked next door to me to go into the hospital, and then took 2 years for them to vet me. And evidently I'm Googleable. And so, not gullible, Googleable. And so they let me in with lots of caveats. And so I had only been there a handful of months when I got my wife back. And so I could have ignored that, but I took an oath, and it's really important to me to help others. Okay, so then after we learned that this was real, I read Dr. Gary Samuelson's book. We saw other people getting better. It really became a moral imperative. Would I actually bring in a saltwater-based network marketing product made in Salt Lake City into a New York hospital that was ultra conservative? And I was probably the most, crazy decision they ever made. And so I said, okay, I'm going to bring it in, and they can try to throw me out. They probably will. But I'm just going to be armed with science. And that's when I was just researching. Terry will tell you, I was up at 5:30 every morning researching Redox and trying to understand as much as I could. So when the administration was going to come into my office, I would be able to say, no, let's talk about this because I can defend it. And so it took a while before administration came into my office. And of course they were coming there because they wanted a donation for Christmas time. And I had a bottle sitting out on my counter because somebody needed an emergency bottle and didn't want to be without it over the Christmas holiday, which was pretty common in the hospital. Actually, as a side story, the joke was on Monday morning, there would be scratch marks on my door from the people who tried to get in to get their Asea when they ran out over the weekend. So when one of these administrators came in and I went to go get a check for her, I came out and she was drumming her fingers on the top of the Asea bottle. And I thought, okay, here it comes. I'm steeled. I'm ready. I got this. And she said, we know about this upstairs. I said, oh, good. And she said, actually one of our most important benefactors says he's no longer in a wheelchair because of this product. I said, oh yes, I know who that is. And she said, we may want you to come and teach us about this. And I said, that's what I do. I'm happy to do that. So they never asked me to do that, but it grew throughout the hospital, through the doctors and the patients. And it was, some would say ill-advised, some would say stupid, but I had to do it because I couldn't not do it. It wouldn't be fair to everyone that I could share it with.
And you knew it was safe. You knew it couldn't hurt anybody. And that was what was really, really important.
Absolutely.
Is that they, you know what, no matter what, it was completely safe. So, you know, what was the problem?
I call that divine.
Yeah.
You know?
We've talked about that many, many times.
Many times.
And, you know, I won't go into the story, but the person that told us about it was purely a divine intervention a couple of years before. We should have never met him. Mm-hmm. And we did. And we figured out later, had that not happened, which we knew was divine, then she wouldn't have gotten on the product. And then this would have never happened. So whatever power that be that did this, we are very grateful.
Absolutely.
Foster, what were you looking at back then? Because you didn't have the genetic study. What were you looking at? Were you just going to PubMed and Google Scholar and back then?
I didn't know what Google Scholar was back then. So the first place that I went was, you know, when Terry got better, I reached out to the person who told us about it, and he knew less than nothing. And so I started reading about this guy, Dr. Gary Samuelson. So I researched him. And then I saw he had this book called The Science of Healing Revealed.
Yep.
So I got that book. And then once I got halfway through that book, I said to Terry, this is why you're better. This is why I'm better. And this is going to change the world. Yep. And I got to meet that guy. And so then I started going to PubMed.gov and then started looking up everything that had to do with redox and redox homeostasis and redox state and redox signaling and glutathione and oxidative stress and inflammation, and realizing that as humans, you know, and Dr. Lee already talked about this, you know, this all starts with, you know, just pluses and minuses and things ripping electrons. And then you get this oxidation thing that happens, which causes oxidative stress, which becomes inflammation, which then, as Dr. Lee said, becomes some disease, some named medical condition. And now you have to do something important to try to help your future.
Real quick, we have a lot of new people. We're now global, obviously. Can you, for the people that are brand new, Foster, and then maybe you as well, Terry, can you just explain what is this? I mean, again, it says it's made from sodium chloride and water, but what exactly is this, Foster? How would you explain it? I'm not medical, so explain it to me.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to try to do it in one-syllable words for you.
Honey, thank you, Foster.
You're welcome, Jim. By the way, is it a coincidence that your name is one syllable? Never mind. Okay, so
that was bad.
That is bad. I'm sorry to all of you who are new, not so much to those who already know who I am.
Welcome to False Malmed.
Exactly. And how they let me in a hospital, nobody knows. Okay, so in the nutshell, what we do is we take salt and water and we break them down into their constituents, which is just sodium and chloride and hydrogen and oxygen. And we do that with electricity. And then after a process that's very, very proprietary, but we're all FDA registered, what comes out is this substance that's in the bottles. Bioagilitics tells us every batch that what's in those bottles, it contains redox signaling molecules. And so that's miraculous. Nobody could do that before we could do that. The simple explanation that I love is that, you know, Terry and Dr. Lee's wife doing things, all the right things, taking the right supplements, getting enough rest, getting enough exercise if you can, doing all the right things. And then what is the switch? When you drink Asea, it's like adding the operating system to your body. Every biological process that takes place in a human body has to be run by something. And you might as well call it an operating system. And that's the redox signaling system. So when you give the body proper nutrients and proper everything else, then the switch goes on when you add the operating system. It's like if your computer's not working right and you got all the right apps and all the right programs and all the right data, but your operating system just can't make everything work the way that it should. If you update your operating system and make it work the way it was designed, now everything can work the way it was designed. And that's, I think, the easiest way that I can explain it.
I've never heard that analogy, and I actually love it.
Actually.
Yeah, I truly love it.
Shocks you, doesn't it?
You know what? Because really, when you think about it, because, you know, we have these in every cell of our body, right? And so the way we explain why it works is that as we get older, we have, it comes from the mitochondria is where it's made, the powerhouses of our cells. And as we get older, we have fewer mitochondria, and they're not as efficient as they were when we were young. Plus, there's a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction going on, pollutants, bad diets, you name it, that are affecting these. So, you know, it kind of doesn't make sense initially when you're talking about replenishing it, but when you talk about the operating system and doing kind of a reboot and upgrading, if you will, that's what we're doing. We're kind of upgrading the operating system so that all of the functions work the way they're meant to. I love that, Foster. Thank you. I've been in 8 years, and that's the first time I've heard that.
We need to talk more often, Maureen. We can get on a board together sometime.
Yeah.
I'd like to just add a thought to that, and that is, you know, this gene study was done, and Foster, I'd like you to address that a little more, because I think that was pivotal, and that highlighted, you know, that was all about what we call in biochemistry the NRF2 transcription factor. These transcription factors are part of this programming that activates sections of our DNA to respond to the problems in our cell. So Foster, what are these, what is the gene study about, and its effect on all this broad class of transcription factors that are exactly what we've been talking about?
It's a great question. So, you know, because we have new people on here, to make it really simple, we did this great gene study, and I think it's sort of the be-all, end-all of our studies. And so we took a number of subjects. We took 60 subjects. We gave 25 of them our product. We gave 25 of them salt water placebo, and 10 we gave nothing to. And we put them on Asea for 8 weeks, and we put the others on saline and nothing for 8 weeks. And we saw miraculous changes. We saw that after this 8-week period, those who were drinking Asea only, not the other groups, had these significant improvements in these genetic pathways towards health. And so as Dr. Lee is talking about, you know, we saw this NRF2 thing. It says when you drink this product, we're improving this antioxidant activity that's going on in the body that's so important, because the antioxidants fight off that oxidation that we talked about before that causes inflammation, that causes everything else. So when we saw what happened with that study, and we saw that 100% of the people drinking Asea had the same huge improvements in their genetics towards hormone balance, inflammation levels, cardiovascular health, GI health, hormone balance, which was just so amazing, and immune system response. It's like, those are the things that keep you healthy. Those are the things that you lose as you age, or as you get sick, or you have environmental or toxic exposures. Those are the things that get better. And the fascinating thing about it was that we did this very fancy thing called the washout. After we saw these amazing results after 8 weeks, we took all of them off the Asea for 8 weeks. And what happened? They all went back to where they were before. So it showed when you drink it, you have these massive improvements. And then when you go off it, you lose them and you go back from whence you came. So we call that in New York a clue that you should get on this stuff and stay on it if you want a better present and future.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I wanted to make a comment. I was thinking about what y'all were sharing earlier with Maureen, like you were talking about seeing changes and it took a period of time, and some people are quicker. I know Dr. Ward says if you're combining exercise, you know, plenty of good regular water and a good diet, you will see it faster. But I think like maybe for you and other people, and we want to paint the expectations that it takes, you know, you have 75 trillion cells, it's going to take some time to regenerate and give it 90%, see a change in 90 days. But it was working in you the whole time. You just couldn't, you can't see cells being worked on. So it could have been addressing something really critical that you weren't knowing about, but maybe you were looking for this, energy or whatever. For Jim, yeah, he saw changes on the 3rd day, but he had a lot of medication in him that he needed off of. And so, yes, he saw 3 days discomfort in his back, but he was at 298 pounds. So it wasn't, I can tell you, it wasn't the good eating part. It was, honestly, he knows that, but the signaling was taking place. And that's why so many medical and pharmaceutical, I mean, we have a pharmacist on our team, and he said it's the missing link. It's like a puzzle. You know, I've taught fitness nutrition for 15 years, and you can do all these great things and you call them natural, which are not native. You know, natural, I can't give it to my neighbor, they could be allergic. But native, non-toxic is why the medical love it, because it can't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt unborn babies, can't hurt our pets. And so for Jim, he was just missing that signaling, and he had to have 8 ounces. And some people, you know, when they start it, they use a little bit, but if they would just use like the gene study, 8 ounces, that's the optimal amount to get some kind of signaling. So I always tell people it is working. At 30 days, keep doing it. It is working. 90 days, you keep working.
Yeah, you're bringing up a good point, Anne, in that even for myself, if I go back, I actually did have changes. I just didn't appreciate them.
Yeah.
So we have that physical tracker that comes in every case. And it's really important, I think. And Foster and Terry, I don't know if you guys do this on a regular basis, but we're now trying to get people to go ahead and fill that out so that they know where they are. They know kind of the state of their health. And then it gives them a number of different things to track so that they can see what changed. Because for me, I actually had labs change, but that was back before we talked about that and how taking Asea can have an effect on your oxidized LDL in your cholesterol panel and oxidized DNA. And you can get back to the person who invited you and get a little bit more information on that. But those labs changed, and my doctor had accused me of putting myself on a statin drug. And I was like, no, I didn't do that, but I had done nothing else.
Right.
So, you know, I wasn't sick. I was fluffy, and I'm not one of those people, unfortunately, who dropped 15 pounds as soon as I got on the product. Some people do. But so I wasn't appreciating the changes, but it became very noticeable in 6 weeks. And it was like a aha moment, you know, and
A light bulb.
birds were singing. Yeah. So yeah, it was.
You know,
really
Anne, Maureen,
Yeah.
it's funny because we're talking about, you know, the changes like that you had. Now it's been 10 years for me. And, you know, we always say we don't claim to cure, treat, diagnose anything. But I came down with Lyme disease. Let me just say this, 2 months ago, I got bit by a tick, and
She had a rash.
I had a huge bullseye. Luckily, I got the huge bullseye because going to the doctor, they do my blood work, and my blood work, explain this, Maureen, my blood work is perfect. It's very confusing because I had other co-infections as well as the Lyme disease. I had some of the other really bad ones. And the doctors are like, well, your liver is good and your kid, everything is good. And it's very confusing for them. It's how can you have these diseases and your body is in really good shape? So for me, it's like, thank God I got the bullseye because I wouldn't have, my blood work shows that I'm healthy. I'm perfect. Nothing shows up bad.
She's perfect, and I'm a doctor.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's fabulous. But, you know, when you think about it, if you're really healthy, then the chances of you we're all going to get exposed. And do you ever wonder why some people succumb to illness and some people don't? They're probably exposed to it. You probably had titers. You evidently had the rash. So, you know, your cells were reacting, but it wasn't having the same effect in your body because of your level of health. And with what we're going on right now, I think it's become incredibly important, and most people are becoming aware of the fact that they need to have a better state of health. And even the people, we're not supposed to talk about our product with the pandemic, and again, we're not here to treat or cure or anything. But it is interesting that there are a number of people, including myself and my husband, who got it, but everybody who did well. You know, it was nobody, as far as I know, nobody's been, intubated or long hospitalizations or any of that. It's been pretty mild. And so I think that speaks to the fact that just taking this product, just like we saw in that 8-week study, your level of health is better when your cells are doing their job, right? So it's great. That's fantastic. I'm sorry you got that.
Yeah, my body is able to fight. My body is able to, these terrible diseases that have invaded me, my body is fighting back. It's not breaking down. It's not breaking down. And at 56 years old, I feel pretty good. It's like our aging process has just slowed down dramatically. Being on Asea, it's just phenomenal.
I can't believe you're 56. You're my hero. I always tell you this, Terry, because you wear the highest heels. I'm always like, I'm gonna be like Terry, and I buy a pair and I like limp around the house, and I'm like, no, I'm putting my flats back on.
I think it's because Foster can fix her.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. I just said, I don't know how people don't live with a chiropractor.
I know.
Let me tell you, I know how that feels.
I don't.
Yeah, and I live with an anesthesiologist. He can put me to sleep, which is
Maureen, you were talking about at times like these, and so we're never specific about what that means. And again, we never claim to cure, treat, diagnose, prevent anything. But there was a great study that came out of Russia. I may have sent it to you, Maureen. But it was a couple of months ago, and they were looking at the people during this time who were suffering the most. They found that they had 3 things in common. They all had low glutathione, and we know that when you drink this product, it improves the activity of your glutathione. They all had high oxidative stress, and we know that we're able to deal with that better, according to Maureen and her LDL and her oxidative stress studies. And it said they all had poor redox homeostasis. And that was an amazing study just to show we're all on the right path. We're all doing the right thing. If the whole world could do things to keep their immune system up, their inflammation down, their redox balanced, it would just be such a different world. Yep. And that's why this is a moral imperative, and we have to share it with others because we know that we can help them.
Okay, now I'm confused.
I know.
I know you know. Again, I'm not the medical person here, but Foster down here says it's a dietary supplement.
That's right.
Now, how in the world can this do that?
Well, if you've been listening, Jim, what we're doing is we are adding the missing link. We're adding the switch. We're adding the operating system. We're adding that which allows all biological processes, including our defenses, to function at their peak. And you can't function at your peak if you are low in supply and balance of these redox molecules. So when you add them, you are giving your body your best shot at doing its best.
Okay. Now, I understand that. I'm being a little bit sarcastic, obviously, but why is it called a dietary supplement? Why isn't it classified as something else?
Because this is made from salt and water. So we call that GRAS. It's generally regarded as safe. And we are not a drug. That was the plan in the beginning, to make this a drug. And then it turned out that wasn't going to work out well because we were going to lose it. And people like us and like the tens, hundreds of thousands of people around the world wouldn't have gotten this. It would have been a prescription item from your doctor only. So thank God that Verdis Norton and his son Tyler decided, let's do this in a different sort of distribution model. We can't do it as a drug because we're going to lose it and people will not benefit the way we want. So let's make it a dietary supplement. We can come out in that category in this country. And that way we're not making any claims. So the FDA is happy with us. The FTC is happy with us. We make no claims. We've said it many times. We don't claim anything to treat, diagnose, prevent, cure anything. We are merely supplying your cells with that which they lose with age, with environment, with genetics, whatever it is. And when you bump that up, you're going to have a better existence.
Yeah.
We're just upgrading the operating system.
Yeah, I love your usage guide. Everybody should find that in United. You've got a great copy of how you stage people with their servings so they can, there's some people that need to go, 2 ounce, and then maybe in a few days, 4 ounce. And then we have people like that now that have to do little amounts and build up to that. If they're in a crisis situation, they should maybe do 16 ounces a day. Maybe you could address a little bit of that. Maybe it relates to detox, just for people out there that may not be that normal, like the bottle says. Maybe you could address how you started that usage guide and why you put that together. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, we did, because we were seeing people, back then we had literally 2 videos. We had nothing, and we were seeing people having great results. And then we'd have other people, they were having great results, and then they would stop having great results. And we would ask the question, well, tell us how you're drinking it. Tell us when you're drinking it. Tell us, are you eating, different things. We were asking questions, and we found that people were denaturing the bottle. They were drinking it from the bottle, which you cannot do. They were using the same cup over and over again. They were denaturing it. So and then we found some people couldn't start with 2 ounces. They would get a headache. They didn't feel good. They were nauseous. And again, we didn't know back then what was going on. It was the glutathione uptake and the people detoxing. So they were actually healing. They were just healing too quickly. So we felt we needed to help people, to guide them, because it's just not these molecules. It's just not like one and done. Some people take 2 ounces twice a day. Great. Some do 4 ounces twice a day. We do 8 ounces twice a day, just because we just feel like it's better. So,
because we see, when people have more severe issues, we give them bigger doses. And then we finally said, she said, I have terrible genetics. She said, I need you on more. We see what that does, and I want you to stay healthy. So when I came up with that program for what I called the sensitive people, I wanted to figure out a way for them to use a case in that first month, but just ramp it up. So I was starting them on 1 ounce a day. This took a lot of calculations, Jim. It was a lot of math. But I figured out if they did 1 ounce a day the first week, and 2 ounces a day the next week, and 4 ounces a day the next week, and then 8 ounces a day the next week, they could ramp it up slowly, decrease the likelihood that they might have some discomfort from detoxification, which we want them to do. Yep. We're all detoxifying every second of the day, but as you drink this product and your body's detoxification systems start to increase better, now the junk is going to dump out of your cells, metabolic waste and garbage that needed to come out before, and now it gets mobilized. Your body wants to excrete it, and when it's in your bloodstream, you might not feel good. That's not bad. That's amazing. It's a miracle, but sometimes we just have to do it more slowly, give them more water, and just have them be patient, manage their expectations, let them know you're only on 1 ounce a day. Don't expect anything. Let's just build it up, and we'll notice the changes later. Let's just get your body used to healing the proper way.
Yes, and the people, when we were having, we were seeing people too that would say, "Oh God, I'm not feeling good." If we didn't go over this form with them, they would drink it. These people, they would have a detox. They would have a headache, or they'd be nauseous. They would stop taking Asea because they thought it was making them sick. And of course, the detox would stop. And in their mind, they would be like, "Oh, see, that stuff made me sick." When in fact, they were actually healing quickly. They were just healing too quickly, but they would stop, the headache would stop, and they would say, "Yep, see, it was that stuff." And so we felt we had to explain to people what might happen. And it's a small percentage of people that have the detox, but if you're one of them, congratulations. It's a wonderful thing. It means your body's healing just too quickly, and let's slow it down. And congratulations.
And just to be clear, when we say the body's healing faster, the body is healing itself. Asea is not healing anything.
Right.
Could we address maybe the other aspect to that? We were talking about managing expectations here. You know, there's a lot of people who come into this and they say, well, I'm going to try it because, you know, I need to feel better. I want discomfort to go away, or whatever their expectation is. And then it doesn't happen, and they kind of bail out and say, no, it didn't work. You know, I mean, how do you address that?
You have to tell people, that was one of the things too on our form, is that you have to give it 90 days. Like, we don't let people, we tell them, if you're going to take the product, you're gonna join with us or be a customer, you have to give it 90 days. 90 days. And even if 90 days you don't feel it, it's still working. We know it's working within minutes of ingesting it. So it is setting those expectations.
Absolutely. And when we say, and if somebody says, you know what, I only want to do it for a month,
No.
I tell them they're not ready.
They're not ready.
When you're
No.
ready to change your present and your future, I need a quarter. I need 90 days, and let us have a 90% chance at you feeling the difference. And if after 90 days you don't feel the difference, you really need this product
Yes.
because it's working on something that we don't know what that is.
And it takes people, they don't realize how long, like, I was sick for 6 years, 6 years that doctors couldn't get me better. And so people expect, they want to, you know, they hear my story, 3 days. Please understand, I'm just one of those people that was 3 days. Give it time. Give it time. It's working, no matter if you feel it or not. And eventually you will feel it. But if you look at all of those points that we put on the form, look for those little things. And when you judge them, like if you just really sleep terrible and you have that on your scorecard, as you start to sleep better, you may not even notice it. But if you see, oh my gosh, I was terrible sleeper, and now it's 2 months later, and you go, wow, you know, I used to wake up 3 times at night. I'm not even waking up at all at night. And so people don't realize as your body heals, you forget all the pain that you had. So that's why we love that form. It's a guideline to show you where you started and where you're going.
That is so true. Because, you know, even in my own case, we have the charge up call that I think is still going 3 times a week now. Is that right? It used to be every day. And I would listen to that because I wanted to hear what other people were experiencing. Because I didn't have a lot of faith. You guys were, well, you had a very quick thing, but, you know, I thought this sounds ridiculous. You know, as an esteemed doctor, you know, I thought that this doesn't make any sense and I don't believe in it and I'm probably going to get my money back. But I was listening to other people and I heard somebody talking about shoulder pain, and I was like, I had shoulder pain so bad that it would wake me up every night. My husband was like, you've got to go see an orthopedist. And I was like, no, you know, they like to cut and I don't want shoulder surgery. And I'm listening to somebody and I was like, oh my God, what happened to my shoulder pain? You know, you just forget. It's a mechanism in the body that when it goes away, you forget you ever had it. And so I was
having babies, right? You have a baby and you go out of that delivery room, you go, I'm never having again, never, never. And then you forget how bad the pain was and you have another.
I had one. I never forgot.
That's true.
That's so
I have
funny.
a short-term memory.
Okay. I'm going to bring up the other gorilla in the room. And Foster, you've talked about this in the past. Now, we've got what's being called the greatest discovery ever. But explaining then network marketing. I never did it. You guys, I think we're probably the 2 of the couples that have never done networking prior, right? But as an ex-stockbroker, I'm looking at this as the greatest blessing that it did come through network marketing. How did you guys deal with that?
Well, at first we said, we'll talk about the product, but we're never talking about that disgusting business model. And then the level of disappointment that it was so interesting that the product was so amazing and the business model was so terrible, we thought, And as we talk about, that was our ignorance,
Yep.
because
Right.
we didn't know any better. We just, had misconceptions and bad
Pyramid
perceptions.
scheme.
Yeah, all that
Network
crazy
marketing
stuff.
is a pyramid scheme.
And then as we shared it with patients and money started to come in, it was at the same time as the insurance companies deciding they really needed to decrease the income of chiropractors. So on the same day or the same week that we got a check, a little ding on Thursday night, and it was hundreds of dollars, on the same day that I got a check from Medicare for 9 cents.
Oh, goodness.
Well, chiropractors are not the only ones being hit, by the way, correct?
Yes, but I don't care about anybody else. I'm a sociopath. Okay, so I didn't care about their income. I only cared about my income. And so when I went home and I said, look, honey, 9 cents. But then when we saw what came in from Asea, in New York, we say, that's a clue. And it's like, okay, we have to look more deeply into this because maybe it makes sense. I can't imagine that they're ethical and they're honest and they're principled, because it has to be for us to really be a part of it. But so I started calling our upline. Then I started going cross-line. For those of you who don't know what that means people who have nothing to do with our business. And I was calling all the triple diamonds, or people who have a lot of success, and saying, okay, you say this is the greatest company you've ever seen. Don't freaking lie to me. Tell me the truth. And every single one of them said, no, you don't understand. We've been in 5 companies before, 10 companies before. This is the hallowed ground. This is where they walk their talk. They are ethical. They are principled. They tell everybody that it's principles before ego and money. And it just sounded too good to be true. And in truth, it ended up being better. And we finally said, okay, this is real. We don't think they'll forsake us. And they never have. They always have the associates and distributors always in their mind first before profits.
And as far as like network marketing, I felt like at first I was old. I would do presentations just with the product. I'm not going to talk about the opportunity. But then here I was making money, and people were joining my business, and people were, coming to the presentations. And I realized I was playing God with this decision. Like, who am I to decide if my audience needed an opportunity when all I was going to do was offer them the product? And I had one woman in my audience that when I offered it, now I was like, oh, well, this opportunity, I was like so embarrassed. And she came up to me after the presentation and she said, I'm so excited. She had lost her job and she was excited about the opportunity. It wasn't about the product. It was about this business and this company. So I realized then I needed to stop deciding for people what was best for them, and that I was going to offer it all. And we were winning trips and we were winning awards, and and the money we were making, it was just silly while sharing this beautiful, amazing product with people. They're both the same. I mean, to me, the product and the opportunity are equal with this company.
Yeah, why wouldn't we want to help both of them? How excited were y'all when the Renew 28 came out 6 years ago, and you could see literally for some people that change in 10 minutes or less?
Can we see your before picture, Foster?
He looks great.
No.
63. 63.
So
Wow.
I was very blessed. When we came out with Renew 28, they called me up and said, we want you on the stage with Dr. Rob Ward and Dr. Gary Samuelson to talk about Renew 28. And that was quite an honor. And I knew nothing about skincare. Okay, so she knows about skincare. And so I thought, who needs skincare? We just need people to drink this stuff and get healthier. And she said, you don't understand.
This is a game changer.
This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn about barriers and skincare and all of these things, mostly from my wife and a little bit from Gary Samuelson or something. But it was amazing once that came out, and now we could actually see it. Instead of, we could see it before, when you drink the product and you see that your hair and your skin and your nails are doing better, those are awesome signs of health. But now you just put it on your skin for 28 days And now you're seeing, you know, on average, 20% improvement in wrinkles and fine lines and texture and smoothness. Just amazing things. And now we can tell people, see what it just did to your face or your turkey neck. Let's do that to your liver and your kidneys.
And what you didn't realize is that skincare products, most of them have carcinogens, they cause tumors, they have, you know, things that you put in your face. You literally, like women know, you have to go through redness and burning to come out the other side. So to have a product that has no toxicity, that works on everything on your whole body, on everything on your body, that's huge. And that's what I said to Foster. It's like, my skin's not going to burn and peel off before it looks better. This stuff is, it's healing. It's healing the skin instead of damaging it to repair it.
Yeah.
Explain why that's happening. Why is it healing the skin? Because we've been focused on drinking this stuff inside. What is it doing on a skin cell?
Well, it's doing the same thing. So when you put it on the skin, it actually goes deep, so that what you see is the epidermis. Underneath it is the dermis. Underneath it is the hypodermis. That's where, you know, your blood supply, it's where your muscles, your soft tissue, your nerves. That's where the product goes. So we did a study that showed that it goes all the way down to the fat lobules. So we just happened to decrease cellulite. So I was very thankful for that. But when you can decrease cellulite by shrinking fat lobules and you're just using a topical, you know that product's getting all the way down there and it's doing the same thing as the drink. It's now signaling the cells so that cells can now protect themselves better, protect your barrier. You can repair the cells that are damaged primarily from sun and exposures, and you can get all the way down deep. And now you can start replacing the cells that can't be repaired. And when you can do that from the outside, you can see it quickly, and then you drink it from the inside, and from health from the outside in, from the inside out, and now you have the whole package.
And with it being harmonics, I mean, you can put it really anywhere on the body, and it's doing the work. Our newest claims on discomfort, I mean, there's so many people out there that this could be a market for, because you got athletes, you have people who are older. I've got a client that's used it for close to 4 years, and she just, amazingly, when I met her, she thought she needed this done and that done and that done on 3 body parts. She hasn't had any of them done, and I'm not making claims that it's because of this, but she buys 8 tubes at a time, and I don't know, the body's healing itself. So
now the one big bit of advice, because we've had too many people that said it didn't work, is what? You got to take a before picture.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I wish we had a picture of Rosie, because you're right.
I've got it.
He's got
I've
the
got it.
Yeah, because Rosie didn't think that anything was happening. She was like, I'm not going to use this stuff. It's not doing anything, until they showed the picture
You
of
know,
her.
right?
Rosie, yours?
You know Mark Mullaney?
What's that?
You know Mark, her son, is Pastor Mark Mullaney in Albuquerque. And he had his amazing story. And he goes, hey, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You
Okay,
know?
so
And
that was when she was 84. And
Yeah.
that was when she was 3 years later, 87. Try to tell people this stuff doesn't work when you put it on your skin.
And what's crazy, Mark said at the 7-week mark, she said it didn't work.
Right.
And thank goodness they had the picture, because they were like, look.
Like 90 now.
I've got a picture of her at 91
She
now.
looks awesome.
Oh, do you? Oh, we got to have that. Send it to me, please.
Glasses on, and she just looks awesome.
That's sister's mom. I mean, amazing. What, she's 86?
She's 85.
85, and just most beautiful skin. And she doesn't know. She just uses it because we tell her, you know, to use it. But she must know. I think people probably tell her all the time. Her skin is just gorgeous.
Awesome. That's great. That's great.
You know, it's funny. I got a facial for my birthday. My niece had paid for it, and the woman who did it was like, "You have beautiful skin. I don't wear I wear eye makeup, but I don't wear any face makeup. I don't wear foundation at all or anything. I just use our products." And I'm 61, And, you know, I have on occasion gotten brave enough to show my pictures of like what I look like when I started.
Maureen.
What's that?
Early 50s.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
I will learn to wear those high heels one of these days. But yeah, you know, if you go back and you look at my medical professional board picture, I mean, I always look at it, I'm like, that's my before picture. I mean, it's just horrific, you know? So I think we all are somebody else's. Who is the administrator? Who is that? Is that you, Lee?
Is that, no, it's not. So I don't know who's doing that.
That's hilarious. Could it be Alan?
What are they doing?
No.
No.
Let Alan be an administrator.
They write stuff on here. They're actually pretty funny. So I wasn't sure who it was. But they were born in the same year as me.
Oh,
You have 5 minutes left.
or less.
Can you guys explain, because we're all of us, except for Ann and Terry and Maureen and Lee, and anyway, should younger people look at this? I mean, should children be using this? I mean, if yes, why?
They're aging. They're aging. You start losing these molecules around puberty, and it's just a decline. So why wouldn't you? If you're taking supplements, you exercise, you eat right, you're doing all the things when you're young, add these. Why wouldn't you add them?
The gene study was on 35-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
35-year-olds.
Right. And, you know, look at your genetics. You know, I have horrible genetics. I know a lot of people with bad genetics.
Yeah.
Bad stuff's coming.
Yep.
And, you know, illness is the loss of wellness. And if we now have the best way to retain our wellness, why wouldn't we do that? You know, yes, it costs money, but sickness costs way more. And it's just, you know, all of our kids drink it and most times.
And your cells are either declining or
Improving.
So,
Right.
you know,
they don't have a choice.
they don't
right.
have a
So they're not just going to
choice.
stay the same.
They're not staying
So they're
the
either
same.
going to get oxidized, they're going to get damaged, or they're going to continue to improve. And we want that dial to head more towards wellness than going slowly towards the illness side.
Awesome. We got a couple of minutes. Where is this going? How big can this be?
Okay, so we call it a legacy company, I think, because it is. So when we see, you know, after 10 and a half years now, you know, we see the skeptics, those who said, don't be ridiculous. And we always said, you know, we're 10 to 15 years ahead of our time. We're still ahead of our time. This is still baby science. We're just really learning. You know, now you start seeing so much about redox balance, redox state, redox signaling in the research. The world is starting to catch on. And, you know, we're not in 33 countries by a coincidence. We started in one, and the world is looking for it. And, you know, until something comes along that's better, that's more basic and powerful, which I can't even imagine, we don't know what that might be. This is the answer to so much for so many, and there's no side effects. And so why wouldn't people just do this? And I think they will. And we can see, you know, just by the progression of the company, the amount, you know, the indicator is the amount of sales each year, growing each year. It's just, it's the beautiful place to be, and we're going to be everywhere.
Don't let your skepticism stand in the way. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just try it. It's life-changing.
It is. Long-term use of Asea will cure your skepticism.
I love that. We're all blessed to be here. We truly are.
We
Do
are.
not allow the delivery method to keep you from taking an honest look at this. I always say you got your feelings and you got your facts. Bake it on facts. And don't allow the way it gets delivered to your house to be a discourager to trying this technology. So guys, we've got another group that comes on in 1 minute. Any parting words?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for
We
having
will be here next Friday.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So, real quick, we will be here on Friday. We're going to do something pretty cool. We're going to have a boatload of people here. They're going to. Hopefully, you guys will join us again.
We'd love
1 to 2 minutes, and it even makes me emotional, Maureen. This was Maureen's idea to share why we're thankful that we have this. because I know it saved my life. And I just want to say, Maureen, we're going to get a lot of people to come on, and they're going to be on the screen with us. And we're all going to take 1 or 2 minutes and share why we're thankful. So that will be next Friday. Then after that, we got Carolyn Hoffman. We've got Dr. Wow Stevens. And we got Dr. Carmen Keith is going to be coming back for the next 3 weeks after that. So, guys, we've got a great show lined up. We got to cut it off. Please stick around for Danny Doyle. I forget some of the other people. I'm sorry, the Aussies. So stick around. There will be another show coming on right now. He'll be popping up here any second. So thank you, guys. We love you.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.